1983 is when you made your debut, and 15 years there through until 98. You're part of the 9 in a row side, obviously. Graeme Souness, you mentioned, comes back as player manager in 1986 from Sampdoria. He's 33 years of age there. He's player coach. I've been in his presence a few times. It won't surprise anyone to hear, just watching him as a player and on TV, he has a presence. You're aware he's in the room. He's got something about him. So I'm just so curious to hear about 33-year-old Souness, player manager at Rangers that time.
He was unbelievable. I mean, the first thing I've got to say to you, what a football player, Joe. Dear me, what a player. And I think even Graeme wouldn't know. I take that back. Graeme wouldn't admit it. He probably had his best years behind him by the time he came to Rangers. Obviously, his best years probably at Liverpool and indeed in Italy.
Yeah.
But the first thing that we were getting, clearly we were getting a new manager, but he was a player manager. And you're right, he carried a presence. But what a football player we were getting on the pitch as well. Someday, I've never played with MD quite like Graeme. In the respect, Joe, he knew what the game needed, and by that I mean he knew whether he needed to tackle somebody, he knew whether he needed to slow the game down and take the sting out of it. He knew whether he needed to rile the crowd up, our own crowd or the opposition crowd. He knew if somebody in the opposition needed a harder tackle than normal, shall we say. He just knew his game management was by far and away the best that I've ever seen or ever played with. As I say, he was an incredibly talented football player, but he knew just what the game needed, and he was capable of giving the game that. And then he came up, and the whole place just went crazy, man. I mean, Scottish football, it just turned into the biggest helter-skelter roller coaster, and it was effectively just get yourself strapped in because this is going to be some ride for a few seasons, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, to the point, I remember his first game against Hibs at Easter Road, where 21 of the 22 players get booked after the game. He gets sent off, and then the SFA looked at it and booked for the day, apart from Alan Rough, who was the Hibs goalie at the time. There's a lovely shot of this free-for-all in the middle of the park, and Ruffy's leaning against his post because he couldn't be bothered. It was too far for him to run to the halfway line. But that was the kind of thing that kind of took off, and it was amazing. It was certainly an incredibly exciting period in Scottish football.
Yeah, box office. And was he? I mean, sorry, this is a stupid way of asking this question, but take it as it is. Was he a good manager?
Oh yeah. Something, and a couple of things you only appreciate, how good a manager is as time goes by, and being a coach and a manager myself, because he left me out a few times.
Right.
And of course, at that period, I'm thinking, he's out of order. It's his fault. It's nothing to do with me, because I'm all right. But then when you look at it, and I look back and I say he was doing the right thing. And do you know something? It benefited me. Absolutely benefited me when he left me out, because it gave me a challenge. And it gave me a wake-up call. But also, as I say, he knew the game. He knew the game inside out. And as a manager and as a coach, top class.
Right. The Irish football team in some of their practice matches do a thing which is the dubs, as in people from Dublin. The dubs against the Colchies. The Colchies being people outside of Dublin. And, it gets tasty, I'm sure. So, you know where I'm going with this. You mentioned the English contingent at Rangers. So, I mean, Lord knows why, because it seems like a terrible idea. But you'd have the Scots against the English, and
honestly, we used to play them every Friday, and I'm not kidding you. What a team they had, right? Butcher, Roberts, Woods, Wilkins. And Souness used to play with them, Joe, right? And it used to drive us mental.
Why did Souness play with the English?
Because he reckoned he needed to take the numbers up, right?
Okay.
For the 7 sides, whatever it was at the training on the Friday. But we'd have rather have played 8-6. There was no way any of us were going to play England. There's just no way. Of course, he sticks the hand up. I'm playing England. So, and the bizarre thing was, Joe, they couldn't beat us on a Friday. They couldn't beat us. We used to, Durante, myself, Davy Cooper, Stuart Monroe, Jimmy Nicholl used to play with us. And for some reason on a Friday they couldn't beat us. Anyway, one Friday we're playing away and we're about 4 or 5 up, right? So we start all that ole, the passing and licking it and all this. And I'm watching Souness go, and he's getting angrier and angrier and angrier. So the ball gets played into Durante, who takes a touch, and Souness comes in. Oh my God. A tackle. Well, I'm saying oh my. You've seen some of his tackles. This was an oh my. It's a Graeme tackle.
Yeah.
So Durante at that point was really lightweight. And I don't know if you remember those Weebles, the wee dolls, the Weeble, they wobble but they don't fall down. Well, he put Durante down, and like a Weeble, Durante jumped back up, put his foot in the ball, and said straight to Graeme's face, "Is that your best?" Right? to which Graeme went, "No, he said, as a matter of fact, it's not." He said, "This is," and he belted him one in the chin. He belted him one in the chin. Right now, what followed can only be described as madness. Right? I've come flying in. I'm dying to get a punch at Souness. Right? Headlock. Jimmy Nicholl's rolling about with Graham Roberts. Walter Smith, meanwhile, is running about with a ball under his arm, blowing a whistle, going beep, beep, beep. So it's carnage in the Rangers training ground. And we walk over. Eventually it all calms down. I'll never forget it. We're playing Dundee United the next day. So there's 2 sets of 7-a-side players walking across back to Ibrox. We're not talking to each other. Right? So we eventually get in the dressing room and there's no Souness. So we're all sitting there saying, I wonder what he's going to say here. I mean, he's going to go crazy here. We're Friday before Dundee United. We're all rolling about the training ground, So anyway, next minute the door gets kicked in. And he walks in, and before I lift my head and look at him, he says, "I'll tell you right now," he says, "that's exactly what I'm looking for." Right? He says, "That's the spirit," he said, "that's exactly what I'm looking for." I lifted my head, right? I've got a fillet steak in my eye, covering a big black eye. Ian Durant's got a knife pack on his knee, right? And this is exactly what he's looking for. And to make matters worse, the Dundee United beat us 3-2 the next day.
Oh, man.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I love that you said there you were trying to get a shot in at Souness. You should count yourself lucky you never landed that shot.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be here to tell the story, I know that. I can categorically tell you right now, I would not be here to tell the story.